Okay, welcome to the next Storm in the West 44 Division summary video. But before get into that, I want to mention in the news for the mod that all of the vanilla divisions have been implemented into the mod. So every single division originally in the vanilla game is now in the mod, in addition to the 1st SS Panzer, Leibstandarte Adolf Hitler, which has also been added to the mod. In addition, it's expected that 3 additional new divisions will be added to the mod, one of which will likely be the 82nd Airborne. Also, because of this, a lot of these mods are going to need play testing, and it's very important. It would be very nice to have more players to help play test these new divisions in PvP games. So I'm going to have a link to the Discord for the mod, and that is probably the best place to get games for the mod if you're not already in a group. And if you are, please do send replays or let us know how the games went. Obviously, as part of the mod's philosophy, we won't be changing unit stats for balance purposes, but cost and division income and such are certainly fair game. Anyway, thank you for that news, and now let's get into the division itself, which will be 6 Airborne. Alright, so 6 Airborne, the famous Red Devils of Arnhem. They're an Allied Airborne division, so you see this Phase A 10-minute income for Phase A, which is 12 minutes, like most other divisions. In reality, this division starts with an additional 650 points, meaning that when you start the game, you will have 1,150 points to begin with. So you actually start with more than other divisions. This is not the only division like this, but this is how Allied Airborne divisions work in this mod. They get a large starting income, but not much Phase A income. This division also gets additional income in Phase B and C to the tune of 175 additional points in Phase B, and then 325 additional points at the beginning of Phase C. And the phase lengths are 12 minutes, 15 minutes, and then whatever to the end here. So, very much a division about spikes at the beginning of every phase. And this Airborne division is a little bit more mechanized than the 101st. Alright, so let's get into the recon tab. This is fairly standard from the mod. The boy's rifle is not very effective, but it is a cheap vehicle with some armor. Airborne Scouts, a fairly efficient fighting squad, a bit small though. They do have an anti-tank grenade. Pathfinders, a much more robust squad with smoke grenades, but no light machine gun, meaning they're more of a close combat squad. Snipers in the mod actually have more stealth than they do in the original game. It's a little bit harder to spot them even when they fire. So they are a fairly dangerous threat, but limited availability. And some more scouts. So they do have access to Humber Mark IIIs in Phase B with the Besa autocannon. Not quite as good as the 20mm, but effective no less. And you have armored cars, the Humber Mark IV with the 37mm, not much armor. The Daimler, a little more armor, but the 2-pounder with no HE. And the Little John with the squeeze bore 2-pounder, AP-10, but range 800 meters only. Fairly effective against the squeeze bore gun is fairly effective against things like Stugs and Panzer IVs if they can get into range. Alright, so we get to the infantry tab. You have a lot of slots here and a lot of elite infantry. So the British Airborne tag is so they all have plus 30% movement speed, plus 1 accuracy, plus 5 rate of fire, and very good stealth. Every unit with that tag has very good stealth. So, the Vickers is fairly standard Vickers squad. The Airborne Leader has an anti-tank grenade. That's its main claim to fame. This Bren group is a really good and balanced squad. You just don't get a lot of the Bren groups. Instead, you get more of the Paras, which are close combat oriented. The Bren group, the double Bren, is actually quite effective in the mod. Kind of like other double allied light MGs. They actually do some damage, unlike in vanilla. Hera's same thing, but more close combat oriented, more submachine guns. They're quite effective at close range. They also have the Gammon bomb to deal with close top vehicles in close range. Um, Same thing here. Air landing do not have the airborne tag, but they do have a PIAT. The PIAT is not very effective. It's only 100-meter range and AP7. It's not a very good anti-tank weapon, but it will make closed-top vehicles go away, or not at least not sit around next to you. Assault Pioneers, normal infantry with bombs, basically. Airborne Leader, another group, Bren group for B. Oxen Bucks are commandos, so you'll see they have a different tag, more effective than the airborne troops, except they don't have very good stealth. These guys are Bren groups with the PIAT, as the Oxen Bucks are in vanilla, and then you have some Phase C cards that are even bigger. Elite Infantry is this deck's MO. Not quite as good as commandos, but still quite powerful in their own way. So for tanks, you have Tetrarchs mostly. For phases A and B, it's all Tetrarchs. The normal Tetrarch with the 2-pounder, not much armor, just as in vanilla. The Little John squeeze bore is more important in the mod because the squeeze bore gun can penetrate the medium tanks much more effectively than the 2-pounder can. Command Tetrarchs, and in phase B, unlike in vanilla, you do not get Cromwells until phase C, so you still have to use Tetrarchs in phase B. Basically the same thing. Good morale in the Tetrarchs, but that's not terribly meaningful. And then in phase C, you finally get Cromwells. So Cromwells are not much worse than Shermans armor-wise in the mod. However, and they are quite a bit faster, but still, 7 armor is less than 8 or 9, which it can matter at times. They're faster. They are the fastest of the medium tanks in this game, and they go very quickly on and off the road. Command Cromwell. Fairly decent medium tank for the British. So in the support tab, you have the Vickers Jeeps. If you have a support slot, these can be handy for kind of put them all together and go on a raid, and they're dirt cheap. Flamethrower will help you in close combat. Dingo, just standard command vehicle. AB Jeep Supply, you're probably going to take it to have Phase A supplies, which can be very helpful for repairing vehicles and reloading your mortars. And yeah, the 2-inch mortar is in support in this mod. The British 2-inch mortar does not have very much range. You may consider taking it. Tetrarch CS has very good value. Does not have a heat round, but otherwise can provide useful fire support on a very nice budget. Same thing here, but phase B, and then in phase C you get the support Cromwell, which is just a you saw this in 12th SS, and it's basically the same thing with a little less armor. And more supplies and more flamethrowers. Alright, so you have PIAT teams, which aren't terribly useful in this mod. 6-pounders, which are very useful in this mod. 6-pounders fire quickly, and they also have the airborne tag, which makes them very good stealth and fire faster and more accurately. These are very good. You can even get a Pack 40 if you want. Same price. Fires much more slowly. That's why it costs the same as the 6-pounder. Pack 40 is more powerful, but fires much more slowly and less accurately. Alright, the 6 pounder, normal 6 pounders in phase B, or you can pick between airborne and normal. Notice that the airborne 6 pounder costs more because of the airborne buffs. And you also have access to 17 pounders in phase B and C, which are critical against heavy tanks, but not airborne type. Alright, so you have not much anti-aircraft assets. You have the standard Polstons in phase A and B, and then a Tripolston in C. The Polstons are useful against light vehicles and for close-in defense, much like the German 20mm. Um, but against aircraft, they're somewhat limited. Artillery, so you have a 81mm mortar for the British, pretty useful. The M1 howitzer, so it's less powerful than the mortar, but it has much better range. Um, it's more expensive too. You have a naval barrage, one shot, remember, but quite deadly. Very like anything it hits, it will generally kill. Uh, just courtesy of how HE works in this mod, it will kill things. More 81mm mortars. The heavy mortars are quite powerful in this mod and very useful for them. More howitzers, more off map, and then in phase C you can get 25 pounders if you so desire. The British Airborne Division has very good access to air support. Um, you have plenty of you have bombers of various kinds. The Wildcat that comes back fast but doesn't come in very fast anymore because of the way this mod works with bombers. Allied bombers take a while to come in. Hurricanes. You as with other decks, you have a lot of choice in your air loadout. So you have the rocket planes. This is probably your best phase A attack planes, are these rocket planes. You can choose which one you want. The Hellcat is faster than the Hurricane, but the rockets on the Hurricane are a little bit better. Yeah, you can even get a Mosquito bomber. And then in phase B, you get the really powerful airstrikes like this Hellcat with bombs or with big bombs. With generally big bombs, or even a Hellcat with both big bombs and rockets. This Hellcat's a little bit buggy. In order to use the bombs, you must turn off all of its other weapons. Otherwise, it will just use its rockets. But this is very powerful, but it's very slow too, so just keep that in mind. The fighters are all good. You have various loadouts. You have the Napalm Bomber only in phase B. Just various choices here. A lot of choices. You are an airborne division, and you have the best Commonwealth Allied Air tab you can get. Every kind of plane you want. So as a summary, the 6 Airborne has to use its starting income to get a very good position on the map, and then focus on preserving its units. They get a lot of lump sum income later on too, which can allow them to make quick counterattacks and try to hang on. It's often best not to spend all your initial points at the very beginning, to leave some points for phase A, so that you don't end up getting crumpled later on. A unit that's not in the field cannot be destroyed, and so if you keep a few points in phase A, it's actually worthwhile to do that. Just understanding, sometimes you don't need multiple squads in the same area, and airborne squads are all quite expensive. 36 points apiece for the real elite squads it's tough to get that many on the field. So, being economical with them is very critical to playing this division, and also learning how to fight tanks and vehicles without your own tanks. You do have tanks in this deck, but they are fairly limited. They're all quite vulnerable to autocannons until phase C, and even the guns aren't terribly great. This is the same problem that the 101st has you'll see it, but It's the same problem as 101st with vehicles, but you have more vehicles in this division than you do in 101st, so take advantage of that as well. The Tetrarch CS is incredible value for what it is, and it will help you win firefights with better armed German units. Okay, well, this is the 6th Airborne summary video. As I said earlier in the video, please feel free to come to the Discord to get some games together, and thanks for watching.